Here, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Player X here with the Semi-Limited Podcast. You know it, you love it. And thank you for all of our viewers and listeners tuning in and supporting the podcast, sharing all the sites and episodes with your friends, chit-chatting, being social with it and everything like that. Appreciate it. All the love. Without any further ado, we're going to get into this quick little episode. I don't know how long or short this episode will be. We got a couple things on the docket, and we're going to be chugging through them. Things like the Konami printing schedule, including the sets like Valiant Smashers, and as well as Phantom Nightmare. Talking about a little bit more about the Rarity Collection and if it's going to be like a recurring thing. But before we get into all of that, as you guys know, we have to go into all these plug-ins. So please be sure to go to that Linktree link in the description box below to follow all of our social sites. You can click on that link. It's going to bring up a tab with all of our sites on there: Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. All of the links to all of the podcast episodes and their distributors, including Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, as well as Spotify. So you go there, click all those, follow, click all the buttons, subscribe, notifications, all that stuff, yada yada. You guys know the deal. I shouldn't have to tell you this more than like 1,800 times, right? Also, we hit our new follower goal on Instagram last week, and I announced that we were going to have a giveaway, and that means at the end of this episode, we will be announcing the winner of said giveaway for the Instagram followers. There will be another giveaway when we hit 50 on TikTok, as well as 100 on Twitter, and then 200 for the IG and YouTube, which we are chugging away on. So that just means we got more giveaways for you guys and more things to hand out. So be sure to tune in to the end of this episode where we'll be announcing the Instagram giveaway for the Dark Magician mat, the single player cloth mat. Looking beautiful. It's going to go to one lucky listener and someone who followed all the rules. So, also, speaking of that, following the rules, we're going to shout out to our Unplugged Gaming sponsor in Manlius, New York for sponsoring the podcast. Be sure to join their Discord server. I'll link it down below in the description box so you can be a part of all their TCG communities, including Yu-Gi-Oh!, One Piece, which actually just fucked up with all of its players with that ban list bullshit. So, we'll see if they even get more players down there. Then we also got Lorcana, any of the other TCGs you guys might play. Be sure to go into the Discord, find a community that you want to be a part of, get into trading, get into communicating game plans, and then maybe even meeting up in store. And if you go into the store, be sure to mention that the boys over at the Semi-Limited Podcast sent you, and they'll be sure to hook you up because Joe over there loves us. And we sure to love it. Also, be sure to catch Brad, aka Mr. Perfect, live streaming on Twitch every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the East Coast on New York for those who are outside of the United States. His Twitch will be linked in our link tree down below as well. You can click on that, and right above our Twitch, you can see that he has his link there as well. When he streams, he's usually doing things like deck theories, deck testing. He's hanging out with his chat. He's been doing a lot of Master Duel and grinding on EDO Pro lately. So if you're maybe seeing him in stream, you want to play against him, type in his chat that you're trying to get some hands in, and I guarantee he'll play you. And then make sure you get his attention, because anything that happens on the stream, he's sure to report to me when we report at locals, be including it in the Friday night wrap up. So you also get some airtime on the podcast as well. So today, before we get into all of this action today, we are actually joined by someone who's been on the podcast before. So we have another returning guest. I'm just going to introduce him. He is none other than the legend himself, Antonio, aka Autumn's Allure.
Good evening, everyone.
Did you want to link yourself in or do a little plug-in or anything like that before we got started, man?
Yeah, I mean, so I run a YouTube channel. It used to be The White Mexican, but I changed names over, kind of in a shift. Not really dropping videos right now. I'm kind of at a block as far as content, but more to come. More to come.
Absolutely. So if you guys are interactive with this, or maybe you liked today's discussion, be sure to go to his YouTube channel, which I'll also have linked down below. And then give him some, maybe some thoughts, maybe some content you guys might like to see him do. Then maybe he'll be able to give you guys some things that you guys might like. But speaking of thoughts, getting into today's episodes, we were talking in our side group chat that we have. I don't know if most of you Yu-Gi-Oh players have group chats with a bunch of your maybe local guys. I'm assuming you guys mostly do, but we definitely have a couple of them. I definitely started a couple of them, and especially in the Syracuse area. So we were chit-chatting a little bit today about how sets were, and I was talking to my boy Devon, and he was hyped for the Fire King stuff. And then I was also talking about how, yeah, we have the Fire King stuff coming. We have Valiant Smashers at the end of the week. You know, we also have the Phantom Nightmare set that comes out early in February, and we just got off of the Rarity Collection. So we were just talking about the printing schedule and how some people were talking about how we're not going to be able to financially recover from all of these sets dropping with all these cards and all these new archetypes and themes and shit. And it got me thinking a little bit about like the printing schedule. And we were talking, and it seems like Konami has a lot of its better sets printed at the end of the year, but they're mostly all bunched up. So for those who don't know, we usually get about 4 core sets per year. On top of that, we also get 3 reprint sets, mostly. I'd say 3 hardcore reprint sets. And then we also get about 3 to 4 side sets per year as well. And those all drop like almost weeks from each other sometimes. So just take the last couple months, for example. We had the Rarity Collection just drop, and then now we're going to have Valiant Smashes at the end of this week. Next month, we have the Fire King Structure deck coming out, which is going to be another game-changing one after we just had the Red Resonator Structure deck drop, last month. And then on top of that, we got Phantom Nightmares coming. So it's really jam-packed towards the end of the year, and a lot of us were just thinking that there's something that Konami has to do to be able to slow down either the printing process, maybe printing more cards in a set and then printing less sets so that way people have more time to kind of recoup their funds or whatnot. But for the most part, they just seem like they just be printing cards. Like it's like every month or every couple of weeks we got a new set coming out, and like we don't have enough time to enjoy the cards and archetypes that we've already had released to us that we just had released last week. And then B, I think that it doesn't give the player base enough time to have, I guess, the money in the bank to be able to support this hobby, because it is a hobby at the end of the day. And especially with sets like Age of Overlord, where we got a core set that has one $85 card, one $100 card, another $65 card, like all these cards in there, they're archetypes. If you wanted to play Sinful Spoils, you'd have to spend $85 per copy for 3 wanted, on top of the Diabel Star herself, the Black Witch. And then you also have to play SP Little Knight, which is going to be another $100. You know what I'm saying? And then it all adds up. And then now you're saying that you have to drop money on that set, and then 3 weeks later we have another side set that we've got to drop money on. Like, it just seems like it's coming a little bit too fast. I don't know if you agree with that statement or if you disagree with it, Autumn, but it definitely comes to a point where I think that something's got to give. There's no way they can keep printing all these sets at the prices that they're going to be at, especially with increased prices, and then expect us to be able to keep up with everything.
Well, one thing I would say is that, I mean, it's no secret, there's a pretty standard formula that I feel like probably a lot of players follow, and that's the singles market. They drop all these sets pretty rapidly, and, we have all these crazy pre-sale prices, and there's a lot of different cardboard being, like, just printed like crazy. Like, the printing press seems to be going, like, 24/7 over there at, like, Konami HQ, and a lot of it's going to waste. I don't really know a lot of people that just go like knees in deep and buy like boxes and boxes and cases of all these sides, even some of the core sets even. And I think, again, like, people know to just kind of wait and get singles, and yeah, it's not always cost effective for like really, really popular cards. Like, some things do maintain just for like scarcity of before they get reprinted, but eventually everything gets reprinted, so it really just comes down to time. But as far as them continuously trying to pump out these sets, and there's just back to back to back, it really just it's, I don't know, I can't really put it into words, for lack of better words. It just seems like a waste. There's so many boxes that just go unopened or unsold, or people are opening up boxes and cases of these things to get like 1 or 2 or 3 like high rarity cards or like expensive meta cards, and then it's so much bulk, and like, where does all that bulk go? Like, people have just like tons and tons of supers and ultras and commons that just no one cares about. Like, they literally just get thrown away or just like left somewhere, or they're just sitting, I don't know, in someone's closet somewhere at their house.
Useless cardboard. There's commons that just came out in the pack that we were given at the OTS today. One of our OTSs, they give a couple OTS packs, and then they also give a pack of like one of the core sets, and we got Age of Overlord, and I pulled a super, but there's also like 16 fucking commons in there that I didn't need. Like, they were just like ridiculous cards that are just like super clear that they'll never see play. I get that Yu-Gi-Oh has a lot of different cards in the card pool, which is what makes the game so diverse, is that you're able to do almost anything, but you have to have cards printed in order to like have that. But some of these cards are just like clearly going to see no play, even if it's down the road. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's just bad cards, like this not good design. And those are the cards that I think that we just don't need to print. I think that that would be a little bit better than printing all these cards, having all these mixed rarities. You never even know what you're going to get. Let's take the Rarity Collection, for example. You could pull a QCR Imperm or a QCR Ash Blossom or some $200, $300 card, or you can pull a QCR TG Limiter or a QCR Entis, you know what I'm saying? Or even a QCR Outledge alternate art, which is going for like $8. You know what I'm saying? It's just, it's too much of a wide spectrum of randomness.
That was so dumb about the Rarity Collection. How literally, like, I get the idea of there being like 7 different rarities and like you can get every card in every rarity, but some of the just like fluff randoms that they threw in there, they
Exactly.
literally made quarter century secret rares, makeshift starlight rares that no one wants. They're literally like $2, $3 makeshift starlight rares that are literally just gonna be like never moved.
Yeah, just gonna sit in binders.
No one wants a quarter century ice barrier, whatever that trap card is. Like, it's just weird. It's weird to me. Like, I have so much to say. I don't know, like, if we're gonna come back to this topic specifically on the Rarity Collection, but I know I just had to add that.
Yeah, we'll definitely touch back up on the Rarity Collections a little bit later. I just think that if they print less cards in each set, so that way it's, you know, less money that they have to put in towards all this cardboard, you know, packaging all these cards, shipping all these cards, you get less cards in the set, or we need less sets. Like, they need to print maybe 2 core sets per year, 2 side sets per year, and then 3 reprint sets or something like that. I don't really mind the reprint sets so much because that gives more access to the game to like lower budget players, but like you still can't be reprinting every card because then nothing's going to hold its value over time, you know? So only the cards that'll hold value are the cards that'll come out and then won't get touched by the megatins until the next year. You know what I'm saying? So like cards like SP Knight will stay at $100 until next year.
All I have to say is Konami could save really big bucks if they just stopped printing ultra rares.
This guy. Yo, this man takes any platform to slander ultras. But speaking of upcoming sets, we do have Valiant Smashers that releases next week. It's also going to be the inclusion of the Centurion archetype, of the Valiant or Valorant archetype, which is the one, for people who don't know, it's like the reprinting or the rehashing of normal vanilla monsters from the first, like, I think 4 or 5 sets. So like sets that Allure Autumn like specializes in. And then like right after that, in the December structure deck line, we get the Fire King structure deck that gets released to us, which is going to pretty much change the game, especially with the Sinful Spoils package. And then we have Phantom Nightmare coming right behind that. So on top of that, we're coming off the Rarity Collection. So we do have to make sure that we give these players some time to financially recoup. But what are your thoughts on Valiant Smashers? Do you think that the Centurions will come out as the best archetype, or do you think that the Valorants actually have a chance to steal away the attention for the set with the nostalgia that they'll probably be able to bring out?
So I'll be honest, I haven't been doing too much of a deep dive in the new subset, but I will say, with Valiant Smashers being the follow-up set, the very next set to come off the stage from Rarity Collection, because Rarity Collection had such crazy rarities and they were like really easy to pull, and it just completely inflated the market to like nothing. I think it's going to be really difficult for players to go in and be excited about like being excited pulling like a normal secret rare, you know. I think all of us are kind of hyped up on like, you know, pulling all these quarter century secrets, like, you know, like 4 a box or whatever the ratios were, and those look really, really nice. They're fake Starlight rares, I'll be the first to admit it. They're definitely like the fake versions of Starlight rares, but they look just as good in my opinion.
Yeah,
And I feel like the player base got like, you know, high off of, you know, pulling all these Starlights like so easily, like nothing, and going into kind of like back to the grindstone. And having to really chase and really like dig for that Starlight Rare, for that quarter century, is gonna really kind of dull the experience. You know, I feel like we just like got like fresh off this like crazy high, and then they're gonna try to like
No, I
take it
agree. Like,
away.
yeah, they're kind of like implementing something like, all right, well, back to reality, guys. You know what I'm saying? Now we got the rares, and then you get a couple ultras and maybe a CR if you're lucky. You know, so I think that's actually a really good point. I didn't really think about that. That having a set that every card came in every single rarity, and you're pulling ultimate rares and fucking QCRs, and you're playing collector's rares, and then new improved ultras, the secret rares, platinum secret rares, all this wild shit. And then now you're going back to something that's as simple as this. I think you're right that this will be the first set that we go right back down to reality, right back to brass knuckles. And I think that this might be a dud set because it's not going to hit the same way that Rarity Collection is. And I think you are right, and I agree with the fact that people are really on a high right now. I've seen people investing money into cases for this shit, not even just to open, but just to sit on. Like, it's just so addicting, and people just see the money in it. I think the Rarity Collection is probably the best set. I've argued it's probably one of the best sets that Konami's ever dropped, and I'm including that with sets like Dual Devastator. I'm talking about Rise of the Duelist, even
This man said Dual Devastator.
yeah, I think Dual Devastator was a great set. Like, it gave everyone set cards. There was no randomness to it. You knew exactly what you were getting for it. It was exactly like set like this. You have all the hand traps in there. Any card that was a staple over the last like 5 or 6 years was reprinted. Ash, Bell, Veiler, Imperm, D-Barrier, Mind Control. All these cards were all in there, and they were guaranteed. Like, that's a banger set. I think if you look for sealed Dual Devastator, but probably before the 2023 Megatons, because all of it was reprinted in a higher rarity, it was going for like $80 a box. Like, you know what I'm saying? There was so much value in it, but I still
There was
agree that it
one
was probably one
really
of the better
great
sets.
downfall
Oh
of
yeah,
Dual
it's just because it
Devastator
was all
though.
ultra rares. That's what he fucking hates. I forgot about that for a quick second, but yeah, they were all ultra rares. They were all alternate arts of cards, so that way people had a different version of, if they were even getting a rarity, I would say downgrade in most cases, they're getting a different art, so it's kind of like justifiable to play that rarity. But like, yeah, it was just a banger set, and I think that this by far Rarity Collection smashes that through the roof. But I think it's maybe we were talking in a side conversation, and it might have been you, but we were talking about how the OCG is used to sets like this. They get sets like this all the time, where we, for the TCG, is just getting this for the first time, and are wondering if we're even going to have another Rarity Collection for next year. Like, some people are saying that this should be a reoccurring set for the TCG, and I would argue that $1 to $5 staples could be game changing for newer players and lower budget players who can't afford to pay $100 for a Barone to 4 when it drops. You know what I'm saying? They can wait a couple months and then get a Rarity Collection one where it's like a Barone's like $5. You know what I'm saying? Or some dumb shit like that. Prosperities are $5 a copy. Can you believe that? I'm shaking at the sheer fact that I just said $5 a copy for a Pot of Prosperity. That's a staple card in today's meta. You know what I'm saying? That's crazy.
I think it was definitely a field test by Konami. The OCG, so I'm not an OCG expert, but I believe that they get Rarity Collection once annually towards the end of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So they've already had a couple Rarity Collection sets, and I feel like maybe their sales are pretty good in OCG, so they wanted to kind of field test it here in the TCG, and we passed the test. We cracked the crack out of the cracking crack on that set, and people are still cracking out on Rarity Collection.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's a fun set to open. I personally didn't buy it sealed and open it myself. I've watched hours, like an ungodly amount of time on YouTube, watching other content creators crack boxes and cases. It's an extremely fun and exciting set to watch being opened, or to probably even crack yourself. But, and I, like you said about there being like $5 super barons, fucking sweet. That's so awesome. I think it's great that people have access to these meta relevant cards at such a fraction price. But at the end of the day, honestly, I think everything looks like dog shit besides the quarter century secret rares. I'm not gonna lie. There isn't a
Ooh,
whole lot
hot
of
take.
yeah, there's not a whole lot of cards that I personally like.
I
Honestly,
thought you'd like those supers.
I'll admit it's cool that we got another super variant of Ash. So we have two super variants of Ash now. I mean, we got two supers to go against the fucking 15 ultra variants
Ultras.
that we have of Ash. So we finally got one win on the supers, and I totally get what you're saying. It's nice that these meta cards like Droplet and Talents and all these things, they're
Evenly
you can get
matched,
them for
all of
high
them, yeah.
rarities, and even high rarities are relatively cheap. But the biggest thing that everyone keeps on talking about, the big controversy, is there is absolutely little to no incentive for players across the board, specifically here in the TCG, I don't know about the OCG, to invest in high rarity. There's no point in
I agree.
chasing after high rarity. The excitement, the chase for high rarity is gone. There is no market for high rarity unless it's like old cards, like Gen 1 cards, because those, like first edition stuff and like
Yeah,
magic
collector's
stamp
cards in
stuff, you
general,
can't,
yeah.
and old stuff, and that's still like, even that's a very, very small market. A lot of the kids that are playing nowadays, a lot of like, the big names and like the big, competitive scenes, they don't give a shit about the old collector stuff. There's a very few small markets out there that really invest in the old original like nostalgic cards, the first editions, the OG prints, all that stuff. But as far as like Starlight rares and Ultimate rares and just our high rarity cards keep on getting watered down and watered down and watered down. And honestly, my biggest reason why the only rarity that I liked from the Rarity Collection, the 25th quarter century secret rares, is because everything else was literally like a makeshift. It was like a want to be ultimate rare. It was a
Yeah,
want to be collector's rare. We
yeah,
already have full on ultimate rares that look gorgeous. We
yes.
already had collector's rares that looked gorgeous, and Konami just, gave us these watered down, cheap, just like nasty looking rarities. And again, I may be kind of like standalone that I feel that these are like makeshift cheap. Just even the quarter centuries are not Starlight rares. I call them makeshift Starlight rares because they're the fake wannabe versions. But I mean, goddamn, I mean that shit is like
It's a lot of shine
a
to it, I
damn
give you that.
near mirrored image of the Starlight rares. You can barely tell. So, I mean, that's why personally I feel like the only thing that they really did right was throwing in the quarter centuries. But everything else, I could have personally went without.
I don't think you stand alone. I think I'm gonna stand with you on that hot take as far as like they did seem like they wanted to be something else. If you look at those ultimate rares, I don't care what people like House of Champ says. I think I heard him say on one of his videos that people who said it looked like a maximum gold, that they were wrong, that he couldn't see it. And I see exactly what they're talking about. These ultis have like a gloss or like a sheen to them that was like similar to the way that the sheen or the shine or the bump or the raise in the premium maximum gold rarity type was. It seems almost the exact same, except for without gold, it's now just solid black, like how an ultimate rare would look. But it's not the same type of foiling that you would get in an OTS ultimate or OTS pack. That ulti is way, way, way better. Visually, it looks way more stunning, way more gorgeous. The swirls in it make it stand out, to make it pop more. So it's to say, yeah, it's a makeshift ultimate rare. The collector's rares, I would give them that the borders for all the collector's rares look really, really good. But at the same stance, I don't really like how they have like the dots all over the center of the card. It kind of reminds me of like a DT foiling in a way. Like they're trying to make makeshift DT fused with collector's rare, and it's like, you're right. It kind of, everything seems like it's trying to be something else instead of being its own thing. But I will say, I think that I love that secret rare foiling. It reminds me of the foiling that really pops, similar to how like the Battles of Legends have their like really bright, bold, really like eye grabbing foiling. So that is kind of like really, really nice. I mean, obviously you hate the ultras, but I think the ultras don't look that bad. And even the supers, like they kind of all look darker in like a Euro print style. Maybe it's just the boxes that we've been getting locally around here, but they all just seem like a little bit darker on that side. I can agree that to at least certain points where, like, yeah, it just seemed like it's trying to be something else. And I didn't look at it like that way at first. I did have my opinion on those sets, but I can agree with you in those standpoints that they should have maybe tried a little harder on them or not called them ultimate rares and CRs. They should have made their own rarity for them, like pop up or frozen or, you know, whatever fucking name they wanted to call them. They shouldn't have been named ultimate rares. They shouldn't have been named ulties. They shouldn't have been named collector's rares. They don't stand the same way.
I personally think just the rarities are getting out of hand. Konami's introducing way too many new rarities way too fast. And the thing that doesn't make any sense to me personally as a player, as a collector, as a part of the community, whatever you want to call it, is they have the formula. They know what we will spend money on. They know what we like as the TCG community and the TCG investors. We like GX era and earlier old school ultimate rares. We like ghost rares. Give us our goddamn ghost rares back. We like the OG collector's rares. We like these rarities. We will spend money on these rarities and we will appreciate these rarities forever. Why are you throwing your time and effort making these new garbage rarities and trying to push them off as fake makeshifts of the original shit that we like? Just bring us back the old rarities that we like. I mean, even if you look at the OTS alties, the current OTS alties, they don't look bad. Some look like dog shit. I'm not gonna lie. Like, maybe I'm just being pessimistic here, but if you look at the old alties, like, I don't know if it's just super expensive for them to manufacture the alties back like how they used to be. Like, I'm not sure, but it makes a world of difference. Like, I just don't understand. They know what we like, and they just continue to just like make something else that's not what we want. And I've never heard anyone say like, oh, GX alties look like shit, or oh, fuck ghost rares, I don't like ghost rares, those look like shit. Like, I'm just saying, like,
No,
compared to what we're getting in modern day, it just doesn't make any sense to me personally.
I do agree that we do need the access to these cards. So I do agree with like the actual, like, I would say, aura of what the Rarity Collection is as a reprint set, as being able to get staple cards in the hand of budget players. But they should have changed those names and made them different, because they aren't. If anything, they're watering down the image or sullying the image of what those cards are supposed to look like. If you look at a collector's rare from this set, and then you go to like the collector's rares, like the dinos, when I had max rarity dinos, it was a beautiful set. Like the fossil digs were so gorgeous. The oviraptors were beautiful. The animadorn ardosaurs literally looked like the gems were like flashing and flickering in your eyes. Like, it's crazy the amount of detail they put into them. And then to have these Rarity Collection sets come up with a CR that looks like it's basically a DT, where only the border is the only thing that's like really collector about it. It's just kind of disheartening. But I do agree with getting these cards, at least specific 79 cards that were printed, into the hands of these budget players. But they could have done it a different way.
And see, that's perfectly fine. That's really like the only good side of this. Besides us actually kind of converting over and getting kind of the OCG market here in the TCG and actually getting the Rarity Collection, like, I'm definitely grateful. It's exciting that, you know, it's come to here. And honestly, I'm very much of the mindset that we will get it next year. I think this sold so well. Hopefully Konami learns from their mistakes and they kind of change the rarities, but I mean, you know, time will tell when we get, you know, the second season or the next set of Rarity Collection. But I agree with you. It's great that there are these really affordable cards that, you know, people can have, and it's fine. You know, like, I think where they messed up is the set would have sold just as much. It would have made just as much money if they had super shitty ultra rare, normal secret rare, and whatever premium platinum secret rare, whatever it was, the new like border secret rare, and then makeshift starlight. If that was the only rarities they had, I personally think this set would have been like 200 times better, because you would have had the lower rarities for people to have access to talents or baron or you know, whatever it is that they needed. But then they would also have those collectors who could go and get, you know, 25th quarter century Ash or 25th quarter century Nibiru or Impern or whatever. So it would have curtailed to both the competitive collectors who want high rarity and then also just people who just wanted to get cheap meta relevant cards in super, in ultra, in these established rarities. I mean, so much so that like I would have like forgiven Konami for pumping even more hideous ultra rares into the TCG market. It would have been fine because we would have had the Starlight rares, the makeshift Starlight rares too. We didn't need all this extra fluff sandwich stuff, but that's just one white Mexican's opinion.
No, I think that you don't stand alone there, my friend. I think that some players out there might share that same viewpoint because I can see where you're coming from with those standpoints, and I can agree to a certain extent. But getting back into reality and what we're going to be seeing for the foreseeable future, we also have Phantom Nightmare that's coming out in early February. So, are you familiar with Phantom Nightmare at all? Did you check out any of those verified releases or see any of those good cards that were announced?
Not until about like 15 minutes before making this recording, but it seems like pretty solid. Again, I feel like, you know, there's something special about the first core set of each year with it dropping in early February. I think that it's got a badass name. I'm a sucker for like really cool dark names, and I think
Yeah.
Phantom Nightmare is a super cold name. And I feel like we're gonna get some pretty colorful extra deck monsters in that set.
Hey, I can agree. I mean, we also have cards announced that are pretty good that are going to be coming out in that set. And I argue, are these cards strong enough on, I guess, release to carry these sets if their announcements that we get are the only good cards that we get in the set? So cards like Bonfire, cards like Transaction Rollback, cards like Iron Thunderclad, the Arrow Mage support, all that shit. Like, if all that shit's announced and like, yeah, it seems good and dandy, but it drops and it doesn't do shit, we got another, tank and set. But do you think that these cards, the Bonfire being able to search fire card, Iron Thunderclad being a power crept Solemn Judgment, which I didn't even think you can fucking power creep that card. The Arrow Mage support being able to give Rika Plants a little bit more stepping stone into the format. Do you think that these are good enough to kind of carry the set as is, or do you think that we're going to need some more fire announced in this set to be able to carry it?
I think Bonfire is going to be a total banger. I think fire and water archetypes have been kind of shafted throughout the game. Everyone knows that light and dark have been dominant since like the beginning of
All
ever.
time. Yeah.
So I think that that's cool that fire's getting some support because there's some pretty cool fire builds out there. As far as everything else, I'll be honest, I'm not really too familiar with the other ones, but I will say that plants don't really I hate plants. Like I hate that Riga deck. So they can go die. They don't need any more support. So
Damn, shout out
that's all I
Devon.
have to
You can
say to
go die,
that.
Devon. I do agree with you, Bonfire being one of the banger cards. I'm pretty sure it's going to be one of the announced secrets. It's going to basically send all these fire decks, like you said, that have been not getting as much love as everyone else has been getting, a good stepping stone into some meta play. Like, it's a formula card. It searches a lot in the format, or what's going to be that format. I think that, as you may not hate them, but the Arrow Mage support is going to be pretty good. I just think that the support right now is good, but I still think that we're gonna need maybe one or two extra. Like, oh god damn, that's a crazy card. We're gonna need that shit. Like, that's a wild card. Like, that's the chase card. Like, you know what I'm saying? Not to say like maybe like an SP Knight, but like an extra deck monster. But even like a main deck archetype or another, even say let's say fan favorite deck that gets a little bit of support. I think we need a little bit of love somewhere in order to drive this thing through the roof.
Yes, I can agree. I think it's definitely going to be interesting. And again, within the start of the new year, I feel like depending on how late or how early or how on time, relatively on time, if that even makes sense, for the ban list, ban list. I mean, if Konami actually decides to like have a ban list and actually take cards off, put cards on, how it's normally supposed to go, as opposed to like making like 2.5 changes on one list. I think that would be really great. That's gonna, affect the meta state. It's gonna kind of, change things around, but it's gonna be interesting. I'll be honest, the set's kind of a big, black question mark for me, but there's definitely gonna, players always find something to chase after. Players always find something to, make the big hot popular cards. So time will tell.
Yeah, they do find a way to hype everything up. You know what I'm saying? I agree with that. Sometimes these players be hyping shit up way too much. You know what I'm saying? Like this card's like I would say like the Synchrons, like the Revolution Synchron, the Assault Synchron. All of those are a perfect example of cards that were hyped up way too much, skyrocketed into like $45 for the Assaults. Maybe I think it was like $60 to $80 for the Revolutions, and then they just flop. And then they haven't done anything since. There's some cool decks that have come about, but nothing like meta relevant, nothing that's catching anyone's real attention or representation because they just don't see play like that. But coming to a close, just one more thing before we start wrapping things up here. Just want to let all the players in upstate New York know that Millennium Gaming and Rochester, New York is hosting an OTS championship this November 19th at 11 a.m. That's going to be a Sunday, people. They usually tend to get about an average of about 40 to 60 players for these events, so make sure that you are prepared accordingly. As 4 invites to next year's Nationals are given, alongside one winner, basically number 1, receiving a special playmat for the season, which I did confirm is going to be the Dark Dragon, the Darkhold Dragon. That's like the crazy looking one. I think that's actually going to be one of the better ones, kind of like how Curry Kara was. It was just like a pop out, like standalone, like really nice mat that you wouldn't really think that would be a good mat, but it's really nice. So be sure to pop out there. The semi-limited podcast team will be out there. I know Brad's going to be heading out there. Autumn's Allure is looking and talking about going out there again, but if he goes out there, he's going to have his deck list ready because he can't hold up round 1 by 30 minutes like he did last time. So
We don't talk about that.
So a lot of us are gonna go up there. Hey, who knows? He might fuck this one up, and you might have a chance to, yell at his face or whatever you want to do. So be sure to come on out, and if you see us, we'll all be rocking the semi-limited. Yeah, go ahead. Show them all your ultra rares. Tell them that you'll swap all of his cards out with them. And then you can catch the semi-limited gang out there. We'll be rocking our semi-limited hoodies and whatnot. So you can come up, take some pictures, maybe chit chat, find out what are the side games that we might be able to be playing. Or sorry, play a couple side games or whatever it is that you might want to do. Just maybe get a part in some of these content that we be dropping, the social media drops and whatnot. So come out there and have a good time and link up with all the good duelists that are coming out there from New York State. But with that being said, guys, we are running out of life points. Now, we did have some hot takes there on some, hot sets. Just a reminder for all those listening still about the sponsored content. Be sure to check out Unplugged Gaming. They're at Manlius, New York. Their Discord is in the description box below. Be sure to join their Discord page and join all of those TCGs that they have out there. And then you can chit chat with them. If you show up in store, be sure to mention that the semi-limited podcast boys sent you, so that way you'll be able to get hooked up by them. They do love when we send people there. It's the whole point of the sponsorship, so that way you can get a little hookup next time you show up in store. Also, along that, make sure that you are going to go check out Brad on Twitch. Every Saturday night, Mr. Perfect will be streaming at Semi Perfect Gaming on Twitch. Every Saturday night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So you can go check him out. He will be streaming on his Twitch, which will be linked in that Linktree link down below. And speaking of Linktree links, with all that information down there of all social medias and stuff, we have our winner for our Instagram giveaway. To have entered the Instagram giveaway, all you had to do was be following the Instagram page, which is linked in the last post, like that post, and then comment one thing that you love about the semi-limited podcast or something that you enjoy about it, whether it be just what we talk about, some of the things that we drop in as far as the social media content, and then maybe some of the things that we be doing online, like giveaways and such. Getting free shit can't be that bad. So that was what you had to do, and we have our winner, and it is none other than So What Biggie, aka Justin Ellie.
Congratulations, you lucky bastard.
Yep, congratulations on winning. It's a beautiful single-player cloth Dark Magician mat. Looks very, very nice. We're going to be sending it up with a bag. So be sure to hit us up on any of our social medias to receive your gift, my friend. You can hit us up on Instagram, on YouTube, on our business account, semi-limited podcast at gmail.com. or you can hit us up on Facebook, whatever you want to do, dog. Just make sure you get out to us, Twitter, all that, so that way you can get this gift. And if you didn't win, do not fret, because we will be having more giveaways as we hit more of our social media goals. So all you have to do is check out that Linktree link that's in the description box. Get in on all of our social sites to hear about how and when to get in on the next one, because we'll definitely be having more. Also, be sure to check out Autumn's Allure's YouTube page. I'll be sure to have that link down below. Appreciate you coming out and having a good time with us. Is there any final thoughts or anything you want to say about the episode or anything that we've been talking about?
Free stuff always makes life better. So hit all these links up and get your free stuffs now.
He ain't wrong. You might as well go down there and follow all those sites and shit like that. So thank you for coming out, brother, and having a good time with us and chit-chatting for everybody. Thank everyone for listening. My name is Player X, and you've been listening to the Semi-Limited Podcast. Thank you and good night.